Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. You got the B team today. Sorry about that. You actually get the B team 2 weeks in a row because Steve will be doing Little Rock Touchdown Club next week with Coach Brown. So you'll get me again next week too. So all right, this week we don't have a lot. We have a couple of events at home. A lot of football's off this week due to fall break. Women's soccer has senior day Saturday at 1 o'clock at the Bill Stevens Track Soccer Complex. And then volleyball has Dig Pink on Friday night in the Print Center at 6. And then they play, it's Youth Day at the Print Center on Sunday at noon. Not sure who they even play, but they play Sunday at noon. So those are our Jacksonville and North Florida. That's our 2 home games this week in volleyball. So men's and women's golf are in the state of Arkansas these next couple of days. The men are at Chenal playing in the Little Rock Classic, and the women are at Jonesboro playing in the Arkansas State Lady Red Wolves Classic. So they're both in the state this week. And then the women go to Little Rock's tournament next week at Hot Springs Country Club. So let's see here. Where are we going to go? Women's soccer. Women's soccer after a weekend of a tie and a win. And I'll let Coach Bishop give you all the details about that here in a second. They end the regular season on Saturday against North Alabama, who's in 4th place. We are currently in 2nd place by ourselves. We have to have a win or a tie on Saturday to maintain that status. As long as Florida Gulf Coast wins. If they lose, then we would end up 2nd by ourselves. But that's where we're at with women's soccer. If they do finish 2nd, they'll have a bye week before they go to Lipscomb to play in the semifinals of the conference tournament. So anyway, to go a little bit more about women's soccer, here's Coach Jeremy Bishop.
Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. Pretty successful weekend on the road down in Florida. We left out early Wednesday morning, got down to Jacksonville, played Jacksonville U on Thursday evening. Watched it rain all night Wednesday, all through the day Thursday. We were really kind of worried if we were going to be able to get the game in or not, but I guess fortunately everything's so sand-based down there. Everything dried out pretty good, and we were able to play. Field was no issue. So we got out Thursday night against Jacksonville and really played pretty well. The chances we created to score in the match were as good, if not our best attacking night of the season. Really, we had 20-some shots on goal, and their keeper had the night of her life, I think. So she stood on her head a little bit and were able to keep us out. For the most part, we did get one, but we gave up the tie goal later. So we ended up tying that game 1-1. So we were disappointed in not being able to go ahead and get that one. But, when you go on the road and you're able to get a tie, you don't feel too bad about yourself. I think that's the unique thing about our sport, or one of the unique things, is just the way that, the full season is basically one game. It's you can tie, you can win and lose, and you get 3 points for a win, nothing for a loss, and 1 point for a tie. And so at the end of the season, it's all about the point totals throughout. So being able to obviously break from that to the next and recognize the success of a tie can be, I think, counter to the American thought process, and soccer is kind of against that. But we're able to be able to take the positive of that point, especially on the road, and then go into the next match, feeling like we need a win. So we got to Sunday playing against UNF, who is it's their senior day. They're playing for their lives for the conference tournament, and they came out and really battled with us. They had a really good game plan going in, put us under a lot of pressure. Kelly scored a goal right at the end of the first half. Great pass from one of our freshmen, Caroline Billings, put her through, and she finished it just a few minutes before the end of the first half. Again, North Florida came out in the second half, putting us under a ton of pressure. We were having a hard time being attack, and they ended up getting one a really turnover on our part in our defensive third, which we like to do to other teams, really press and make turnovers in that area of the field, and they did that to us. We're able to finish it, and then you could just see the momentum switch. They were all over us, and we were having a hard time really building much of an attack. Finally, the last 10 or so minutes of the match, we were able to finally start getting a few things going, a few opportunities getting down into our attacking third of the field, and then with a minute and a half left, I think we coined a phrase last time, the laser bomb shot, distance with accuracy and laser precision. Well, Kelly let loose on, this is probably an atomic laser bomb. She was about 40 yards out, just absolute rope. Keeper had no shot, and so we go up 2-1 with a minute and a half left, and we're able to hang on the last minute and a half and get that victory, which was huge. Put us into second place by ourselves with one match to go. Lipscomb won their match, so that put them as the regular season champions. So Florida Gulf Coast is right behind us. They've got a road game with Stetson on Saturday. Of course, we've got our home match here with North Alabama. So just a lot on the line as far as the seeding. Honestly, don't know if you're better having a whole weekend off or if that 3 or 4 seed's not too bad because they get to play at home and play that weekend, but don't have to play 2 games. So either way, obviously we're going to go out to win the games, try to get that second seed, and then just be able to wait until the semifinals. But if we have to play the weekend before, I think that won't be too big a deal as far as the legs, because we're going to get a little bit of a break this week with just one match. We've had 2 matches every weekend for the last, 3 months, I guess. And so to be able to have this weekend with just one, I think we'll feel pretty good by next weekend. If we get the whole weekend off, then all the better. But we'll be all right. So Saturday, 1 p.m., North Alabama. It's senior day. We've got 3 seniors, special ladies. Sydney Bruff is a grad student from Canada, finishing up with her 5th year. And Emily Whistle-Littman, true senior, and then Alyssa Altman, also a true senior, but they're both moving on to grad schools, things like that, so they're not going to use their COVID year, so they're finishing up this year. But all 3 of them have been, with the program for 4 or 5 years for Sydney's case, and just been tremendous for us on the field, off the field, just what you want in your student athletes. They're great examples, hard workers, and pretty good at soccer too. So we get to honor them on Saturday. So if you get a chance to come on out, appreciate it. But looking forward to this last regular season game and then heading into the tournament, hopefully with a little bit of momentum. If I can answer any questions, I will. Yeah.
How's Carolyn?
She turned it pretty good at the I guess it was toward the end there of the second half. So she was on crutches through the airport yesterday. They're gonna go ahead and do an X-ray, but probably just a sprain. But this time of year, it's probably done for the year, but we'll see. Swell up pretty good. All right, thank y'all. Bear calls up.
Cross country ran in the University of Alabama cross country meet this weekend. Finished 13th out of 24th in the 24 teams in the women's. Madeline Hill led the way with a 12th out of 217 runners, and then the men finished 15th out of 21 teams. Jack Dingman was 31st out of 211 runners. Their cross country championships in Nashville on October 28th. So they're off until the championship. So they should finish in the top 3 in each one if everybody's healthy when they go to it. So is their plan anyway? That's what Coach tells me. So we'll see how it works out. Men's soccer. Men's soccer's 1-2-2 in the ASUN. They currently set in 6th place, which is in the conference tournament. In the men's tournament, they only take 6 teams. In the women's tournament, they take 8 teams. So they're currently in 6th place, so they're in pretty good shape. They have 2 conference matches left. They're at, Florida Gulf Coast this weekend, and then they host North Florida next Saturday at noon on homecoming week, senior day. and then they play at Oral Roberts next Tuesday for their last 3 regular season matches of the year. So, anyway, to give you more of an update on men's soccer, here's Coach Frank Kohlenstein.
Thanks, Daryl. It's been an interesting week for sure. We played St. Louis on Tuesday. St. Louis has won more national championships than any other Division I men's soccer team, so they have a great history of being a good team. We went up there, played pretty hard, and then came back on the Wednesday. Then we had Stetson at home, and you know it was interesting because it followed right after Brown's football team played. And congratulations, Coach Brown. Congratulations, Jeremy, on you guys' results. And actually, I didn't know whether I was speaking today because you know all we did is tie on Saturday, and I know how Daryl doesn't like to have people. If you don't win, you don't get to speak to the group. But he needed a filler, so that's why I'm here. I mean, last week was a busy time for UCA athletics because they had the night on the stripes, and Matt and Rachel and their people did a great job there. But one of the people at my table had a suggestion because, you know, they had this idea about paying for Dr. Teague to go up and sing, and you know they got some money for that. Might have been slightly planned, you know, it didn't really seem like it was the spur of the moment, and Dr. Teague did really well. I told him, man, you're a Renaissance man, you can do all these things. Well, the people at my table said, I've got an even better idea. They said, Frank, if the people know that if they don't donate enough money, you'll sit at their table and they'll have to talk to you. You know, they thought, you know, in the table that donates the least, then they get the honor of having me there. So that was one idea they had. But as far as the team goes, Pietro Fontana, I think, am I saying that right, Daryl?
I think so.
Okay. He scored his 10th goal of the season, and he's the first student athlete to do that for the men's team since 2019. To get 10 goals in this few of matches in only 13 matches is really great. As Daryl stated, we're currently in 6th, not exactly where we want to be, but we still have a chance of making the tournament. If we make the tournament, then win the tournament, then we're in the NCAA tournament, and then we can still win that. So it's all part of the plan. So we're kind of like, we're trying to be kind of like the Miami Heat last year, where they come in as the 8th seed and go all the way to the final. So that's what we're looking for. If you can get out to see our match at noon and then follow it up with Coach Brown's football rather than Frank's football, you know, please do that, because that's what we're all planning on doing, is playing our match and then going out to support them. I hope you'll do that. And this is a rumor, this is another rumor I heard. You know, you can send this out to a lot of people, because I've seen how this changes people that are willing to come and the publicity that you get. I heard, and I don't know who said it, I'm not going to give anyone credit, but I heard that Taylor Swift was going to be at our game at noon against North Florida. I hope everybody has a great week, and thanks for allowing me to talk to you, and go Bears.
Frank, I thought it was for you to sing. I didn't know we were just having you sit at a table with people.
Oh, yeah, they'll give a lot more for that. You can imagine telling these jokes for 2 hours.
We've all been there. It's good. No, it's good. All right. We appreciate all of our coaches. They put a lot of dedication and effort into our student athletes, and, you know, the results are showing in a lot of the sports for sure. So now football. Coach Brown, he does not like to make these games easy on us, does he? I mean, you know, the old tickers on us older people are hurting. So, but, you know, it's much more enjoyable to come in here and talk about a 4th straight win and talk about victories and stuff like that than it is whenever you have to do this when you talk about losses. That's for sure. So we're very excited about where the football team is headed. It's really the fall break and having a week off fell at a good time during the schedule. Really, this is a good break for us. Got a few bumps and bruises, and having a week off for those guys to heal up a little bit will be a very helpful thing as we hit the road, with the 4-game stretch here to end the conference season. So that'll be good. So just a couple of things Steve wrote down. So if, when he goes back and listens, he knows I at least used a couple of things that he wrote down. But I don't want to take away from Coach Brown's thunder of all the things his student athletes did this weekend and make him have to remember some stuff. But one thing is, he said we cut our penalties down to 5 for 55 yards, which is pretty amazing because it really felt like we had a lot more penalties than that when you watch the game. But, we only had 5 for 55, so that's pretty good. Good job, Coach Brown. So we ran for 200 yards, which was a positive. And then Demetrius Charles just went off. I mean, I knew he had a lot of tackles, but I had no idea he had 17 tackles. That was a unbelievable game by that young man. So that was good. But anyway, homecoming is October 28th against Tarleton State at 4 o'clock. And we're going to let Coach Brown give us a review of the game from this weekend.
Thanks, Daryl. He's right. It's a lot more enjoyable to come up here after a win. And it's easier to make adjustments after a win too, believe it or not. Right? Like, you always have things in sports that's proving on. But when you win a game, whether it's in big fashion or a late win or a holding on to a win, whatever the win looks like, adjustments are a lot more enjoyable on Sunday. And so, very proud of our young men. Once again, we're handling our business at home, and that's important. We're sitting, on the stripes. We're sitting at 4-0 this year, and that's what's put us in the position we're in. We also finished the non-conference slate of our portion, I should say, of our season on Saturday night. Like we said last week, the Stephen F. Austin game was a non-conference game, a conference team that was a non-conference game that was already scheduled prior to the UAC putting out their scheduling. So, but we finished the non-conference slate at 3-2. So on the plus end of the win column, with 4 games left in the season, which are all UAC conference games. So, just excited to the point of this season and where we're at and how we're handling the schedule and the adversity that a football season can throw at you. As far as Saturday night goes, Stephen F. Austin is a well-coached team. Coach Carthel, I said last week, to me is one of the best coaches in our league consistently. He's a proven winner. He has a good team there. A very long, big physical team. Looked a lot like, and I've mentioned this, I put the comparison, looked a lot like the Abilene Christian team we played against about a month ago. Just really a lot of bounce back transfer guys. They do a good job in the recruiting world. We recruit head to head against SFA a lot, especially in the state of Texas. And so we know the caliber of athlete and the caliber of football player that those guys are recruiting. So we knew it was going to be a challenge. And one thing we know, and in sports, is when you're at the top of something, you're not the hunter anymore. You're the hunted. And so when I say that, you knew going in that SFA was going to give their best shot. And when I say that, I mean you saw a fake punt, you saw a surprise onside kick, you saw 2 double reverse play calls. I mean, that's stuff you don't, if you feel like you're a little bit undermatched or you feel like you've got to do something to create positive energy, that's something you bring out of your back pocket as a play caller, as a coach, as a head coach, to get your team going. And so we have to transition our mentality. The great teams, the Alabamas of the world, the North Dakota States over the last decade plus, what South Dakota State's doing right now at our level, what Georgia's done the last 4 or 5 years. You are the hunted, but the great teams still are hunters. And so we're having to figure that out. As a program, as a group, we're pretty good, and we've proven that. And we played a tough schedule, and we're sitting at 5-2 and 2-0 in mid-October, sitting on a bye week. that we're in a good spot. We feel like we've checked a lot of boxes, but there's a lot of boxes still left to check. We had a chance on Saturday to we had the ball in our hands up 10-0 right before halftime. Probably 3 minutes left to go in the half, and unfortunately, we turned the ball over on offense. If we're able to hold on to that ball, take it down and score, make it 17-0 going into half, or even 13-0 if we get a field goal, or just hold on to it and not let them get the ball back and score. We're up by 2 possessions going into halftime. Unfortunately, we fumbled it. As Shaderick was going down, ball popped out. We've been really good at protecting the ball all year. Matter of fact, we're +5, I believe, +5 or 6 on turnover margin. That's been one of our positive things we've done all year. They capitalized on that, made it 10-7 going into halftime. So they had a little bit of momentum going into halftime. And then we had a chance in the fourth quarter. We had our fourth, unfortunately, touchdown call back on the year with a penalty. If we score on that, that puts us up 10 with 8 minutes left in the game. And so that's a different mindset and setting for Coach Carthel and his group. And so unfortunate penalty that we've got. We weren't able to capitalize on it. We got a field goal blocked that didn't result in points, and they scored quick, and then that resulted in us having to take a 2-minute drive down and make a play to win the game. So obviously proud of that last drive. I think Will McElvain continues to prove that he's got poise when it matters. I mean, if your quarterback doesn't have poise, you're not going to win games like that. And he made big throws, big catches by some of our guys. He made a couple big runs on that last drive with his legs. You can see why we're having the year he's because of big moments like that. I think that defensively they did a good job of changing their scheme up a little bit. They played a lot of what I call cover one, press coverage, and they put us, they were banging our receivers around. We've got to be able to adjust quicker as an offense. We should have took more shots earlier. We started doing that in the second half a little bit to try to get them soft on us. But when you're going to win a lot of games, when you win the rushing battles, 200-68. You're going to win most games that you do that. Our defense held them to 68 yards rushing. We had 200 yards rushing. You're going to win most games that you do that, especially as we get later and later into the year. When you play in late October, early November, the better rushing attack usually wins the game. And so very proud of both units on doing that. Again, I thought Darius Hale had a big night, his biggest night to date. He really got us going. I think he had over 90 yards rushing. Shaderick Powell had another 95 yards rushing. Obviously, Christian Richmond had led us in receiving, had a big catch on the last drive down the field, and then Miles Butler on the last play where we scored, just swinging it out to him making a guy miss and getting in the end zone, just a relentless effort to win the game, and that was what was positive. So, and then on defense, I mean, Darryl mentioned Demetrius Charles, DC had 17 tackles. He was all over the field. I joke, he's one of him and Jake Golday. I think Golday had 11 tackles, a sack and a half. So our two starting linebackers, led the way with tackles, and both of them are playing with basically one shoulder. I mean, them guys are battling. They need this week off. I mean, they're fighting. They're doing whatever they can to help our team win, and it's that time of year. Tamarin Wilson had another big night. Logan Jessup had a sack. I mean, we had a good night on defense, and you could tell early on what their plan was. Their plan was we're not going to let that pass rush get to us. We're going to throw that ball quick. I mean, that quarterback was getting that ball out in probably a second and a half every single snap when he was throwing it. So when we got him into a passing situation late, we got him off his mark and they struggled. So we've got to do some adjustments early on to maybe be whether it's man coverage, whether it's getting in their face, whatever that looks like on defense to throw their rhythm off a little bit. But very pleased with the outcome of our team and really the resilience we've showed for 3 straight weeks. Winning big is always fun, right? It is. Winning big's fun. Nobody likes it more than Coach Brown, I promise you. And being able to relax and drink some Gatorade and water on the sideline and just enjoy the fourth quarter. But sports don't work that way. I mean, when you're playing in a good league, there's no days off. I promise you that these next 4 weeks or these next 4 games we play, it's 4 really, really talented football teams. I mean, and Tarleton State in 2 weeks is going to be no different. So we've got to enjoy them while we get them. Our kids are happy. The hard work is paying off, and I'm proud for them. I'm happy for them, as everybody should be, because wins are hard to come by. And so you obviously cherish them when you get that opportunity. As far as the bye week goes, this is a little bit later than what we usually get a bye week. Usually, your wheelhouse bye week's usually week 3, 4, 5 for football. Now, just depending on the year, week 8 is a little bit later than normal, which the way we've handled the front end of our schedule, it works out perfect for us because we're sitting in a good spot with being able to sit at home and watch other teams beat up on each other this coming weekend and getting us ready for the last month of football. So we'll spend a lot of time with developmental work. A lot of our young guys are going to get some quality work in this week. You don't throw your young guys aside, but those guys don't get as much individual attention when you get locked into game planning and getting ready for the next opponent. So we'll spend a lot of time with our reserves, a lot of time with our freshmen, a lot of time in the weight room, spending time with Coach Fodio and his staff. Also marrying that with quite a few of my coaches getting out on the recruiting trail. So we'll have 4 or 5 coaches out the next few days at different times. We'll hit 6 different states in that amount of time. Emphasis on junior college, emphasis on committed kids at the high school ranks, and then obviously combing the high schools and junior colleges for future prospects as well. We're going to make sure we take full advantage of this opportunity. We'll have a lot of coaches out on Friday night watching games this coming weekend because when you're in the season and you usually locked into winning games. You're making calls, you're making texts, you're obviously in communication with young men in the recruiting process, but you get to go visit with coaches. You get a chance to go, what their take is on this young man, and so you get to put your logo in a high school, or get your logo in a junior college. So we're going to take full advantage of that this coming week. We'll steal a couple prep days, which is the advantage of a bye week for Tarleton. So Tarleton has a game this weekend. They play Morehead State. Probably be the better team in that game. Should win that game, and if you just look at numbers, but it's a game they have to play, right? It's a game they're playing. They're having to play 60 minutes. We get to sit back and watch and rest and recover and get our bumps and bruises healed up. So, but we'll steal a couple prep days this week, leading into next week. Probably gain 2 practices that we normally wouldn't get for prep for Tarleton State. So that's the advantage of a bye week, especially going into a conference game that'll have heavy implications moving forward as far as the conference race goes. So that's an advantage that we're going to take this week as well. But proud of the season, proud of the guys. Lot to be thankful for. Thankful for the month of October. I mean, we look, month of October, we're not even going to know what a road trip feels like when we go to North Alabama in 3 weeks. Just because the way the schedule fell, we've had our 2 home games. We have a bye week, then we've got another home game. And then we go to North Alabama, so that's a blessing. That's not something that the UCA Bear football team's used to, and hopefully we'll finish this homestand in 2 weeks with a big homecoming win. That's a great opportunity for us. So, with that being said, any specific questions that I can answer for anybody?
Coach, I've been around here quite a while, UCA, and y'all got a good team, a real good team, and by looking at it, the game, we lost against Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
We lost against North Dakota.
Yes, sir.
If we hadn't had those mistakes, I think the Bears would have beat Oklahoma. I think the Bears would have beat South Dakota.
Yes, sir.
We got a good team.
Yes, sir.
But we can't beat people if we make too many mistakes.
Yeah, you're never going to beat good teams like that if the margin of error to beat an Oklahoma State or a North Dakota State, for that matter, on the road is minimal. I mean, you can't, whether that's penalties, whether that's missed assignments, communication, especially in those atmospheres. That's big, loud stadiums. There's a lot of elements that we don't play in every Saturday when you go to places like those two venues. And we learned a lot from those 2 games. I think we got better from those 2 games. And really, if you look at those 2 games, I mean, I think of the 2, you don't necessarily, you'd be surprised to say this, but I would say that the Oklahoma State game's a game that we probably could have won even more than the North Dakota State game. And Oklahoma State's pretty darn good. They're 4-2 now, about to be ranked in the top 25. I mean, that's a good program. But yeah, you got to learn from those. And 18 to 22-year-olds are going to make mistakes, and it's any given Saturday, there's going to be a boneheaded player here or there because it's a game of emotion. You know that. And even coaches, right? I get emotional too. I got to hold myself back sometimes. But you learn along the way, and I think that's what I've been so proud about this team is we've won in all fashions this year. We've won, going away with the game. We've had to make comebacks. We've had to hold on to leads. We've had to have the ball. We've had the lead, then given it up, then had to get it back. I mean, if you look at it, the fashion we've won this year, we've won in all aspects, and I think that's what makes you proud and gives you a chance to go make a run at this thing the last 4 games. I'm excited about it.
On the recruiting end, the portal, I'm not clear what we can and can't do at this point.
Yes, sir.
Trying to recruit players from other schools. Can you kind of go through us what we can
Yeah.
do in preparation for the portal?
Well, we can't do much in the portal right now. The best thing we can do for the portal is win, and that makes your program attractive. And so, what we'll see is there's the portal window will open at the conclusion of of our season. At that moment, you'll see a mass entrance into the transfer portal. There will be a lot of names that enter it. You can keep up on social media. A lot of kids will post, "I'm entering the transfer portal. I'm doing this." Well, that they can't technically enter the transfer portal yet. They may have all intentions of entering the transfer portal, but so we've got our eyes and ears on some data that keeps us in the loop on young men and who may potentially enter and all those things. But we can have no contact or discussion, just like I would hope nobody's having contact or discussion with any of our players, right? Now, is it happening out there? Probably. I mean, who knows? I mean, we live in a tampering world, right? That's just the fact. So, but as far as our staff goes, we're just vigilant right now, mostly on high school and junior college ranks because, and just in general, I don't think UCA is going to ever have 30, 25, 20, 15 even transfer portal guys in our program. It's just, at least football. We don't send out hundreds and 200s and 300s of kids across the country out of high school that are signing out of the state of Arkansas that want to come home because it didn't go in their way. So we've got to be selective, when we bring a young man from another 4-year institution into our program. We're going to still cut our teeth on young men from the high school ranks, and really, to be honest with you, if you look, I put down our roster. The junior college ranks has been really, really good to us as well, and I think that's an area of football right now that's getting undervalued and under recruited because of the transfer portal. A lot of people are skipping over those Mississippi junior colleges or those Kansas junior colleges because they're waiting on that transfer portal. So we're going to try to take advantage of that. But yeah, I mean, as far as the transfer portal market right now, there's not much we can do. I mean, we can just be reactionary, as far as that goes a little bit. But we'll be ready whenever that portal window opens, and we'll be ready to assess needs when it happens.
I got 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Are any of our kids still on NFL rosters? Right now, what would you consider our greatest need is for next year?
First answer is yes. George Odom is active with the 49ers. Tremont Smith, Trey Smith is active with the Broncos, and then Robert Rochelle is on injured reserve with the Seahawks right now. So all 3 of those guys are still with franchises in the NFL. Need-wise, I think we've got to replace some interior and really just defensive line. We've got some guys that are older there that we're gonna have to replace that are impact guys. Defensive lines, well, y'all have heard me say this many times. You win in the trenches. You know that as well as anybody, Ron. I mean, you win with the big guys, and so I think offensive, defensive line are going to be important. I think we've got to figure out. We feel good about our quarterback situation after Will, but we want to, we're obviously always going to be opportunistic in that area as far as the transfer market goes as well. But yeah, I mean, I think the big guys, because they're hard to find. It's hard to find big guys and quality big guys, and so you got a guy that's like Logan Jessup, who we're gonna have to replace. That's a guy that's been doing it for a long time. Stephon McGlon's had a great year inside. We're gonna have to replace him on the interior defensive line. So there's some guys on the defensive front that's a position that we need to go find some impact guys right away at.
sitting in the stands looking down, there is some massive people walking around all the time.
Yeah, if you come to practice today, you'll see them guys working hard because we're working a lot of development today. We've got a good looking group, and we've done a great job in the recruiting world. I mean, we feel like we've got quality depth. I mean, we've got two redshirt freshmen that back up David Walker and Logan Jessup, and Sam Horton, number 91, and Buck Cobb, number 30, who are playing 35, 40 snaps a game and doing it at a high level. And those are redshirt freshmen. So we're in a great spot. We just, you know how it is. Can't have too many of them, right? You can't have too many of them. Bobby.
Coach, Austin belongs all the way.
Yes, sir.
From his H-back position, is that illegal?
So
That lineman was engaged with somebody else?
well, it was no engagement. It was based off his pre-snap alignment. Okay, so we had a tight end wing, and you basically have to be your inside leg of your fullback or B-back has to be at least inside of that tackle track. So that outside leg of the tackle. Well, Austin was about a half a step too wide, unfortunately, and he hit the guy right at the thighs. It's a good call. I agree with the call 100%. He didn't go to his knee, he didn't go to his ankles. He hit, big dude. Austin's a 230-pound fullback. He's having to go kick out a 280-pound defensive end. I mean, leverage wins, right? So he went a little low. It was just all based on his pre-snap alignment, and that's something we'll coach up, teach up. Can't happen. I mean, bottom line, it's inexcusable, but we'll learn. Didn't kill us because we found a way to win, but it could have. And Austin's an older guy. He understands that. I think he assumed he was in the tackle tracks. He just wasn't. And going back on film, it confirmed, and I agree 100% with the call that the referee made, and he won't make that mistake again. Dr. Bradley? What's that?
Did you agree at the time?
Probably not. But I don't agree with too many things on time either. I thought Shunderick was hit late a couple times out of bounds too, but that's just my opinion. Dr. Bradley?
One of the things that I've noticed is with this conference, the officiating seems to be better than what we've had in the past. Do you kind of concur with that? I've been pretty impressed with the positioning of the officials, and am I missing something, or do you kind of feel that way?
No, I think.
I wasn't there.
Well, look, it's yeah. I mean, I think we've got great leadership. One that's controlling our officials. Excuse me. Our officials actually aren't just UAC officials. They also do the Ohio Valley conference as well. And so we've got quality crews. We've got guys that move up the ranks. I mean, it's all a tier deal, right? It's kind of like anything. I mean, our guys, if they do well enough, they'll get promoted, and the SEC will come get them, or the Big 12 will come get them. So. We've got some guys that have done it a long time. I've got a pretty good rapport with most of the referees, the white hats. I think our conference has done a good job letting our coaches get to know them. They've reminded us that referees are humans. They're real people. Sometimes it's hard for us to know that. Most of those guys go to day jobs, and they do it on the weekend. And so I've got a respect for refs. I do. It's a hard job, and there's so many bang plays with a lot of big dudes colliding at high rates of speed, and that's hard to judge. And so I'm opinionated. I tell referees this all the time, and I think it's why I've got a good relationship with them. I'm going to fight for my team, but I'm going to fight for my team in a clean way. I'm not going to cuss you. I'm not going to be vulgar. I'm going to get my opinion in, and I'm going to leave you alone, and then we're going to move on. And so. But yeah, I think they do as good a job as they can, and there's always going to be missed calls, and then there's going to be good calls that they make in our favor that we're thankful they made. So yeah, I mean, I think like any sport, I think y'all probably get frustrated with the referees, and I'm sure baseball players get frustrated with umpires, and it is what it is. I'm glad I'm not a ref. All right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Appreciate y'all.
So to follow that up, we actually have a consortium of officials from the Big 12, the Mountain West, Ohio Valley, and the UAC. So when the Big 12 and Mountain West don't have a lot of big games or whatever, we get even better officials sometimes, you know, or more experienced. I shouldn't say better, just more experienced, you know. But if you watch a lot of Big 12 games, like I'm sitting at home sometimes and I'll be turning a Big 12 game on and I'll go, every one of those guys have been in our stadium calling one of our games, the wide hat, everybody, you know, and you see them blow a call in that game, you go, yep, I've seen that missed call before, you know. So it's not a, but they do work hard, and you know they do the best they can with what they have to work with and stuff. So, and I will say the conferences, our replay system is a lot better than it used to be, and it gets better every year, and they're investing in it so that they can get the right calls made and stuff like that. So those are big. So anyway, it's just fun to win. That's all I know. I love to win. Winning is fun. Just want to remind everybody, Coach Brown will be at the Little Rock Touchdown Club next week, but we'll have the offensive and defensive coordinator, Ken Cullums and Stacks up here to visit with you guys. We'll have Jeremy and Frank back next week so they can talk about their conferences and remind us about what's going on, the conference tournaments and what they've got going on. And then we'll also have, we haven't confirmed this yet, but we're trying to get our men's and women's basketball coaches over here next week so they can kind of give you an update about how their preparation is going to start their season. The women open on November 6th at 6:30 against Hendricks, and the men open at home. Well, they play at Tulsa that night, but then they open at home on November 10th at 6:30 against Hendricks, also for a Military Appreciation Day, before we have Senior Day at football on November 11th. So, anyway, I hope everybody has a great day. Go Bears! Bears.